If you don't like me going to bars with my ex, maybe we should take some time apart. She thought this was just another test she could use to control him. She was wrong. When 30-year-old Sloane said these words before leaving, she still wore that smile of certainty that he would cave. For 3 years, every time she threatened with breaking up, her honest carpenter husband would send an apology text within 2 hours. She thought this time would be the same. But this time, Silas only said 2 words, "Okay then." Then he put down the wood chisel in his hand and picked up another phone. A number she never knew about. A number he had prepared for 6 months. "Attorney Chan?" She said it. "We can start now." Can you imagine what happens when a man who's been underestimated for 3 years finally decides to stop compromising? When a craftsman skilled in precision woodworking applies that same exactness to a divorce plan, how terrifying can it be? What Sloane didn't know was that her casual, take some time apart, would trigger a precise execution she could never imagine. Not violence, not cursing, but completely legal, silent, calculated to the hour social death. If your partner said the same thing to you, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. But before that, let me show you what a real counterattack looks like. It was a fall evening, exactly 6:45 p.m. Silas would remember this precise time later, because it was the moment his marriage died. Orange sunset light slanted through the studio's large windows, falling on an unfinished cherry wood desk, the scent of wood shavings mixed with linseed oil. Silas Thompson knelt on the floor, patiently sanding the desktop with 2000 grit sandpaper. Sweat soaked through the back of his t-shirt. His fingers moved along the wood grain, each stroke precise and powerful. This was cherry wood, imported from North America, ordered by a retired professor as a gift for his granddaughter who just got into graduate school. "I want to give her a desk that will last a lifetime," the old professor had said. Silas understood that sentiment. He didn't make furniture, he made vessels that carried emotion. That's also why, when he realized his marriage had become a defective product, he decided to handle it with the same professional attitude. Either repair it to perfection or scrap it completely. And repair was clearly no longer possible. His phone vibrated 3 times on the workbench. Silas glanced at the screen. Sloane. He didn't answer immediately. He finished sanding that section of wood grain, brushed the sawdust off his knees, took a deep breath, and only then picked up the phone. "Don't wait for me for dinner tonight." Sloane's voice came through the receiver, with women's laughter and music in the background. "I'm going to that new bar downtown with friends." Silas's fingers tapped lightly on the edge of the workbench. Once, twice, 3 times. This was his thinking habit. "Which friends?" he asked. "Just some friends." Sloane's tone became impatient. "You don't know them. Why are you asking so much? What time will you be back?" "I don't know. Don't control me like my dad does." Silas looked at the darkening sky outside. Downtown, new bar, Friday night. All the signals were there. "Is Reed going too?" he asked calmly. The phone paused for 2 seconds. The background music continued, but Sloane's breathing became clearer. "Yes, so what?" Her voice rose an octave. "He's also a friend. We're all adults, Silas. Your old-fashioned thinking is really ridiculous. Your ex-boyfriend. Ex-boyfriends can be friends too." Sloane was almost shouting now. "My God. Silas, it's 2024. What era are you living in? We've been married for 3 years, and you still don't trust me? Do you know how terrible that makes me feel?" Silas's hand stopped tapping. He looked at the calluses and wood dust on his hands. These hands had built her an entire home over 3 years. Custom wardrobes, handmade bookshelves, solid wood dining table, even the delicate jewelry box on her vanity. He had carved it all piece by piece. And now, these hands were called old-fashioned. "Listen," Sloane continued, her tone clearly provocative and impatient. "If you don't like me going to bars with my ex, maybe we should take some time apart. I need space, Silas. You're always suffocating me." This sentence was like a precise scalpel, cutting through something that had been tightly strung. Silas's expression didn't change at all, but his hand stopped all movement. The studio was quiet enough to hear wood shavings falling to the ground. "Fine," he said. his voice as calm as discussing tomorrow's weather. Sloane laughed, the kind of laugh that assumed he was just throwing a tantrum. "Don't be like this, honey. I just want to get some air. You're so busy in the studio all day, I get bored at home alone. Don't I even have the freedom to go out with friends?" "Breakup approved." Silas's voice was even calmer than before. The phone suddenly went quiet. The background music continued, but Sloane's breathing became rapid. What did you say?" "You said you want to take time apart." "I agree." Silas looked at the half-sanded desk in his hands, sunlight casting long shadows on the wood surface. "Your request, I've approved it. Have fun." "Silas, are you joking?" For the first time, Sloane's voice held uncertainty. "You can't." He hung up. The silence in the studio rushed in like a tide. Silas stood there, watching the phone screen gradually dim. Then he did something Sloane could never imagine. He smiled. Not a bitter smile, not self-mockery, but a relieved, almost liberating smile. He had been waiting for this moment for 6 months. Silas picked up his phone and dialed another number. This number Sloane never knew about. "Attorney Chan?" His voice was still calm, but carried a resolute strength. "Yes," she said it. "According to our plan, we can start now." A professional and clear response came from the other end. "Understood. I'll be waiting for you at the office at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Remember to bring all the documents we organized before, especially those bills." "I will." "Silas?" Attorney Chin paused. "Are you really ready? Once we start, there's no turning back." Silas glanced at the call log on his phone screen. Over 3 years, it was full of evidence of his compromises to Sloane. Countless, "I'm sorry, yes." Countless, "I was wrong, yes." Countless, "I'll change it." Today, all of that ended. "I'm ready," he said. "I've been ready for 6 months." After hanging up, Silas walked back to the unfinished desk. He knelt down again and continued sanding. His hand movements remained steady, as if nothing had happened. But if someone looked carefully at his eyes, they would see a calm, almost liberated light. That was the peace of a man who had made the most important decision of his life. Viewers, what do you think Silas prepared in those 6 months? Why is he so calm? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. At the same time, in the newly opened Wildfire Bar downtown, Sloane threw her phone into her bag, still wearing the bewilderment left from the conversation. She sat in a U-shaped booth, surrounded by 3 well-dressed female friends. In the dim light, glasses reflected colorful lights. "What's wrong?" Eliza, sitting next to her, asked. "You don't look well." "Nothing." Sloane forced a smile, pulled out a mirror from her bag, and checked her makeup. "Silas is being a bit emotional." "Still about Reed?" Another friend, Gemma, raised an eyebrow. "My God. You've been married 3 years, and he's still so petty?" "Exactly." Sloane picked up the martini in front of her and drank half of it in one gulp. The alcohol's sting made her feel better. "Sometimes I really think marrying a craftsman was a mistake. His world is just wood and tools. He doesn't understand what quality of life means." "But he bought you that house," Eliza reminded. "The one in the suburbs. I've been there. It's nicely decorated." "He bought that before marriage." Sloane's tone carried a hint of disdain. "With the inheritance from his parents. Honestly, if the house wasn't nice, I probably wouldn't have agreed to marry him. A furniture maker, what kind of future is that?" The third friend, Hazel, frowned. "Sloane, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? Silas is a good person, and he's been very good to you." "Good." Sloane laughed coldly. "Do you know what he gave me for my birthday last month? A wooden jewelry box." "Wooden." I hinted so many times about that new Chanel bag. He just pretended not to see. Said something like handmade is more meaningful. "Please, I need to have face in front of friends, not handicrafts." Eliza and Gemma exchanged glances but didn't respond. Only Hazel said softly, "Actually, handmade is quite precious." "You don't understand," Sloane interrupted her, taking another big gulp of alcohol. "You haven't experienced living with a boring man for 3 years. Every day it's just the studio, studio, studio. Even on weekends he doesn't go out. just holes up at home tinkering with his wood. I told him I wanted to vacation in Miami. Guess what he said? Said he needs to save money for new equipment. I said I want a bigger house. He said the current one is enough. God, I'm only 30. I don't want to live like this for a lifetime. Just then, the bar door was pushed open. A man in a well-tailored suit walked in, his golden hair combed immaculately, a Rolex on his wrist gleaming under the lights. Several girls turned to look at him. Reed. Sloane immediately stood up, waving. Reed saw them and showed that practiced charming smile. He walked over, hugged each person in greeting, and finally sat down beside Sloane. His cologne was strong Tom Ford, Sloane could tell. "Good evening, beautiful ladies," he said, snapping his fingers at the bartender. "Get me a Macallan 18, neat." "Still so pretentious," Gemma whispered to Eliza, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Reed smiled and didn't respond. He turned to Sloane, looking her up and down. "New dress? It suits you well." Sloane's face flushed slightly. "You still remember I like this style." "Of course I remember." Reed's gaze lingered on her for a moment before moving away. "Your husband isn't coming tonight? That furniture maker?" Sloane's smile stiffened slightly. "He's very busy. Always in the studio." "Furniture maker." Reed repeated the phrase, then nodded, his tone carrying a subtle superiority. "That's a good profession. Down to earth. Traditional craftsmanship. Worthy of respect." But everyone could hear what down to earth meant in this circle. It meant no ambition, can't make big money, not exciting, can't show off. Sloane's fingers gripped the glass tightly. At least he has stable clients. Business is okay. Of course, of course. Reed raised his whiskey glass. Cheers to down-to-earth life. Cheers to those who quietly give. The girls laughed. Sloane laughed along, but the smile was forced. She took out her phone and glanced at it. Nothing on the screen. Usually at this time, Silas would text asking if she'd arrived, if she was having fun, if she needed him to pick her up. But tonight, nothing. She remembered what Silas said on the phone. Breakup approved. He couldn't be serious, right? Just being stubborn. Tomorrow when he wakes up, he'll regret it, he'll message with an apology. Just like every time over the past 3 years. Sloane put down her phone, telling herself this was good. Let him worry a bit. Let him know she doesn't have to depend on him. When he begs her to come back, she can make demands. Like that Chanel bag, like the Miami vacation, like a bigger house. "What are you thinking about?" Reed's voice sounded in her ear. Sloane came back to her senses and found Reed leaning very close. Close enough that she could smell the whiskey on his breath. "Nothing," she smiled. "Just thinking tonight I should really relax." "That's right." Reed raised his glass. "Life is short, carpe diem. Isn't it?" The glasses clinked together, making a crisp sound. In the dim light, Sloane couldn't see the worried looks Eliza and Hazel exchanged. She only saw the appreciation and suggestion in Reed's eyes. What she didn't know was that outside the bar in a black sedan, a man was taking photos with a telephoto lens. Every angle, every intimate moment was precisely recorded. Timestamps, location markers, clear facial features. Everything was going according to plan. Let's go back 6 months. At that time, Silas hadn't called Attorney Chun yet. He was still trying to save the marriage. But what happened that night made him make a decision. It was a Friday night. Silas got off work early to surprise Sloane. He bought takeout from her favorite Italian restaurant and prepared a bottle of red wine. When he walked into the house, he heard Sloane's voice upstairs. She was on the phone. I know. Her voice sounded impatient. "But I can't leave right now. Do you think divorce is that simple? The house is his, the studio is his, I have nothing. I have to wait for the right time." Silas stood at the bottom of the stairs, holding the food bag, motionless. "Money? Of course there's money." Sloane continued. "He transfers $5,000 to my card every month. But how is that enough? The restaurant you took me to last time, one meal cost $800. I still need to buy clothes, bags, go to the beauty salon. What can $5,000 do?" Pause. "I know his studio makes $300,000 to $400,000 a year. He's too stingy, always saying he needs to save money. Save what money? If we don't spend it now, wait until we're old. Another pause. Reed, don't say that. Okay, I admit I chose Silas partly because he had a house, looked stable. But you're different, you have ambition, you have taste, you know how to enjoy life. When I handle things here, we can. Silas quietly put the food bag by the door and turned to leave the house. He sat in the car for 2 hours, watching the lights at home, watching Sloane's shadow move behind the curtains. 2 hours later, he walked back into the house, acting as if he just arrived. Why are you just getting home now? Sloane asked. She had already changed into a beautiful loungewear, wearing a gentle smile on her face. I thought you'd be home early tonight. Something came up at the studio, Silas said calmly. A client changed the design. Have you eaten then? Ate outside. That night, Silas slept on the sofa. He said it was because he was too tired and didn't want to disturb her. Actually, he didn't want to lie next to her, listening to her breathing, imagining she might be dreaming of another man. The next morning, he went to see Attorney Chen. I want to understand how property is divided in case of divorce, Silas said directly. Attorney Chen looked at this determined young man and pushed up his glasses. Texas is a community property state, but there are exceptions. What's your specific situation? Silas took out a folder. Everything was organized neatly. Property deed, studio registration documents, proof of parents' inheritance, bank account records. These are all my premarital assets, he said. The house was bought in 2018. We got married in 2021. The studio was registered in 2017. I invested all of my parents' inheritance into these 2 places, with complete fund flow documentation. Attorney Chen carefully reviewed the documents, approval flashing in his eyes. You're very well prepared. Have these assets appreciated since marriage? The house was renovated, but all done with the studio's business income, not household shared income, Silas said. I specifically kept the accounts separate. Studio income goes into the business account, then a fixed amount is transferred monthly to our joint household account for daily expenses. Very smart, Attorney Chen nodded. This clearly distinguishes business property from household property. How much is in the joint account now? About $2,000. But my wife spends it all every month. Silas paused. And she has my supplementary credit card, spending $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Attorney Chen noted these figures. Have you kept the bill records? Every single one, Silas said. From the past 3 years, all scanned and archived. Very good. Attorney Chen looked up, looking at him seriously. Silas, I must ask you, are you serious? Are you still planning to save this marriage? Silas was silent for a long time. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting light and shadow on his face. I want to give her one last chance, he finally said. If she can realize the problem, truly want to change, I'm willing to try. But if she doesn't, Attorney Chen took over. Then you need to protect yourself. Yes. From that day on, Silas began his preparation. He hired a private investigator. Not to track Sloane's private life, that would be illegal, but to record her behavior in public places. Every time she said she was going out with friends, the investigator would wait at the place she went, using a camera to record her interactions with Reed. He organized all financial documents, drawing a clear line between premarital property and postmarital income. He consulted a tax advisor to ensure the studio's accounts could withstand any scrutiny. He even found a psychological counselor, not for therapy, but to maintain emotional stability, ensuring he wouldn't make wrong decisions on impulse. During these 6 months, he appeared to be the same silent, easygoing husband. Whatever Sloane wanted to buy, he gave money. Whatever she wanted to do, he said okay. When she complained he was boring, he apologized. But every night after Sloane fell asleep, he would sit in the study, checking those documents, perfecting that plan. He wasn't seeking revenge. He was preparing for the inevitable outcome. Like making a piece of precision furniture, every mortise and tenon structure had to be accurate to the millimeter, every connection point had to consider load and stress. And today, when Sloan said those words, the last component finally fell into place. He could start assembling. Viewers, do you think Silas's preparation was cold-blooded or smart? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Saturday morning at 9 a.m., Silas appeared at Attorney Chen's office on time. He wore a clean white t-shirt and jeans, carrying a briefcase. No fatigue on his face, his eyes clear and determined. "Coffee?" Attorney Chen asked. "No thanks." Silas sat down, pulling a folder from his briefcase. "Here's the latest material you wanted." Attorney Chen opened the folder. Inside were photos the private investigator sent last night. Sloan and Reed in the bar, sitting very close, Reed's hand on her shoulder. The two leaving the bar together, hugging at a street corner. At 1 a.m., Sloan walking alone into an apartment building. Each photo had a precise timestamp and location marker. "She didn't come home?" Attorney Chen asked. "No." Silas's voice was calm. "I stayed up all night. Didn't receive her text until 7 a.m. saying she stayed at a friend's place." Attorney Chen put down the photos. "Silas, in Texas, this evidence doesn't affect property division. We're a no-fault divorce state." "I know," Silas said, "but I need this not for court, but to let others know the truth. Her parents, our friends, all those people she'll cry to saying I failed her. I want them to see who really betrayed this marriage." Attorney Chen nodded. "Then let's begin. I've prepared the divorce application. You sign today. I'll submit it to the court first thing Monday morning." Silas picked up the pen and flipped to the signature page. His hand was steady, no hesitation. Signature. Date. Done. Property eviction notice. Attorney Chen passed another document. According to Texas law, the owner of premarital separate property has the right to request the spouse to move out. I gave her 30 days, which is the legal minimum, but it's also merciful. Silas signed again. Separation agreement. Attorney Chen continued. This lists all property ownership. Your premarital property, including house and studio, completely yours. Joint account split equally, she gets about $400. Her personal belongings are hers, your personal belongings are yours. No alimony, because she has a full-time job, the marriage lasted only 3 years, and there are no children. $400. Silas repeated the figure. Not even enough for one of her bags. That's reality, Attorney Chen said. She took your money for granted. Never thought she'd lose it one day. Silas finished signing all the documents. He put down the pen, looking at that stack of legal papers in black and white, feeling for the first time how concrete the word freedom was. "And the materials for her parents," he said. "Are they ready?" Attorney Chen took out another envelope. "Inside are photos, but I screened them, didn't include anything too excessive. Also a summary of her credit card bills from the past year, and some chat record screenshots you provided between her and her parents. Those screenshots were from the tablet computer Silas found at home. Sloan sometimes used that tablet to chat with friends and didn't log out. On it were her complaints about her parents being old-fashioned, out of touch, embarrassing her in front of friends. This will hurt them," Attorney Chen reminded. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Silas thought of Sloan's parents. They were ordinary working class. Father was a retired mailman. Mother was an elementary school teacher. They scrimped and saved to raise their daughter through college. At Silas and Sloan's wedding, they gave a big red envelope and held Silas's hand saying, "We're entrusting our daughter to you. Take good care of her." Silas always felt he had failed them. He felt it was his fault for not protecting their daughter well. But now he understood they needed to know the truth. Not to hurt them, but so they wouldn't blame the wrong person. "Send it out," he said. "Today." Attorney Chen nodded and put the envelope in an express package. "Monday, when she receives the divorce notice, her parents will also receive this." "And mutual friends," Silas said. "Is that email ready?" Attorney Chen opened his laptop and showed him a drafted email. "Dear friends, I'm Silas. I want to tell everyone in the simplest way that Sloan and I have decided to end our marriage. This isn't an easy decision, but it's necessary. Before you might hear various versions of the story, I want you to know some basic facts. The photos in the attachment were taken in public places, showing Sloane and her ex-boyfriend Reed's interactions over the past few months. I'm not accusing or seeking sympathy, just letting the facts speak. I will always be grateful for the good times in this marriage. But when trust and respect no longer exist, continuing isn't fair to either party. Please understand my decision and respect both our privacy. Best regards, Silas. The wording is appropriate, Attorney Chen said. Not emotional, not accusatory, but the photos will say everything. When do you want to send it? This afternoon, Silas said. While she's still at Reed's place. He stood up and looked out the window. Outside was a sunny Saturday. People walking leisurely on the street. Couples holding hands, children laughing. An ordinary day for others. But for Sloane, this would be the worst day of her life. And she didn't know it yet. Viewers, do you think Silas did the right thing? Striking all fronts simultaneously, is this smart or cruel? Tell me in the comments. Sloane woke up at 2 p.m. She was lying in an unfamiliar bed, her head aching terribly. She had drunk too much last night. She sat up and found herself at Eliza's place. The four girls came back together last night because they all drank too much and decided to stay at Eliza's. Her phone had over a dozen unread messages. All were sent by her to Silas, starting from 11 p.m. last night. Are you asleep? I probably won't come back tonight. Drank too much? Don't be mad, okay? Silas, why aren't you replying? All without responses. Sloane frowned. This wasn't right. Silas never did this. Even when angry, he would reply to texts, tell her to be safe, to rest well. She dialed his number. The number you have dialed is switched off. Switched off? Silas never turned off his phone. His clients might call anytime. Sloane started feeling uneasy. She got up and walked to the living room. Eliza and Gemma were still asleep. Hazel sat on the sofa scrolling her phone. Morning. Hazel saw her, her expression strange. No, it's afternoon now. Did Silas contact you? Sloane asked. His phone is off. Hazel's expression became even stranger. Sloane, you should check your email first. What? Email, Hazel said. You have a... Just look at it yourself. Sloane picked up her phone and opened her email. In the inbox was an email from Silas, sent at 1 p.m. today. She clicked it open. The email was brief, but each word hit her heart like a hammer. Then she saw the attachments. 3 photos. Her and Reed at the bar. Reed's hand on her shoulder. Them hugging at a street corner. The timestamps were terrifyingly clear. Last night, 10:47 p.m., 11:52 p.m., 12:33 a.m. Sloane's hands started trembling. Where did these photos come from? Your inbox should have other emails too, Hazel said softly. This wasn't just sent to you. Silas sent it to everyone we mutually know. Eliza received it, Gemma received it. Probably about 30-some people. Sloane's face instantly turned pale. What? How could he? Her phone rang. It was her mother. Sloane stared at the incoming call, her finger frozen on the screen, not daring to answer. The phone rang over 10 times before hanging up, then immediately rang again. She took a deep breath and answered. Mom. Sloane. Her mother's voice was cold, a kind of coldness she had never heard before. We just received an express delivery. Sloane's heart sank. What's inside? Her voice was trembling. Come home. Her mother's voice was very calm, that kind of calm before a storm. Your father and I need to talk to you face to face. Now, immediately. Mom, I can explain. There's no need to explain. Her mother's voice began to choke. We saw the photos. We saw the bills. We saw those chat records. Sloane, is this really what you think of us? Sloane felt all the blood drain from her body. What chat records? Those conversations where you said we were old-fashioned, embarrassed you, made you lose face. Her mother said, each word like a nail. Sloane, we worked hard all our lives to give you a good life. Is this how you repay us? Going behind Silas's back with your ex-boyfriend? Spending money like water? and mocking your parents behind their backs. Mom, I didn't mean it that way. Come home. Now. Her mother hung up. Sloane sat there, her phone falling to the ground. Hazel picked up the phone and handed it back to her. Sloane, what's going on? Those photos. I don't know. Sloane's voice was almost a whisper. I don't know how he got them. Reed and we just went out, nothing happened. I swear. But it looks bad, Hazel said. Very bad. And Silas sent these to everyone. My boyfriend also received it. He's asking me what's going on. Sloane covered her face with her hands. How did things turn out like this? Yesterday she was still feeling proud, thinking she had control over Silas, could make demands anytime. Today her world collapsed. She picked up her phone and dialed Silas's number again. Still off. She sent message after message, but all disappeared into a void like stones thrown into the sea. Please call me back. We need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. Silas, please. I'm sorry. I can explain. No responses. Then her phone dinged. A new email. Sloane clicked it open, her hands shaking. It was a formal legal document. Divorce petition. Separation agreement. Property eviction notice. She read line by line, each line making her heart sink deeper. Requests dissolution of marriage, separate property, no community property. Respondent must vacate premises within 30 days. 30 days. He gave her only 30 days to move out of the home she had lived in for 3 years. She looked at the property list. The house, the studio, all the accounts, clearly distinguished as premarital property. The only thing she could get was half of the joint account balance. About $400. $400. That was everything she owned in this marriage. Sloane sat on Eliza's sofa, staring at that legal document, finally realizing what had happened. Silas wasn't joking. He wasn't threatening. He wasn't testing. He was done. Completely done. And she had lost everything. Eliza walked out of the bedroom, saw Sloane's expression, and sat beside her. What happened? Sloane handed her the phone. Eliza looked at it, her expression gradually becoming serious. Sloane, this is real. He's really divorcing you. I know. What are you going to do? I don't know. Sloane's voice was empty. I really don't know. Her phone rang again. This time it was her supervisor from work. Sloane looked at the caller ID, her heart sinking further. She answered. Sloane, this is Mark from HR. Where are you? You missed 2 important meetings this week. I've had some personal issues. We've also received some concerning information. The supervisor's voice was very formal. About your personal life. Sloane, you know our company values reputation. I think you should come to the office. We need to talk. Sloane knew what this meant. She was going to be fired. I understand, she said. When? Tomorrow morning. 9 o'clock. After hanging up, Sloane sat there, staring at the phone in her hand. In 1 hour, her world had completely collapsed. Her marriage was over. Her parents were disappointed in her. Her friends were questioning her. She might lose her job. All because of one sentence. One sentence she thought she could use to control Silas. Maybe we should take some time apart. She thought it was a threat. Turned out to be the trigger. And Silas, that man she thought was weak and controllable, had prepared everything in advance. He waited. Waited for her to say that sentence. Waited for her to give him the excuse he needed. Then he struck. Swift, precise, merciless. Like a craftsman cutting wood. Clean. Final. Sloane finally understood. She hadn't married a weak man. She had married a man with extreme patience and planning ability. And she had pushed him to the limit. Now the countdown had begun. She had 30 days to find a place to live. 30 days to pack up her life. 30 days before she would be evicted from the home Silas built. Her phone buzzed. Another email. Another mutual friend asking what happened. Sloane put down her phone and covered her face with her hands. For the first time in 3 years, she cried. Really cried. Not tears of anger or grievance, but tears of regret and fear. Because she finally realized She had lost the one person who truly cared about her. And this time, there was no going back. Viewers, Sloane's nightmare has just begun. What do you think will happen next? Tell me in the comments. The first week was the worst. Sloane tried everything to contact Silas. She went to his studio, but the door was locked with a new lock she didn't have the key to. She waited outside for hours, but he never appeared. She called his friends, but they all said they didn't know where he was. Some were cold, some were sympathetic, but no one would help her. She went to her parents' house. Her father opened the door, looked at her, and silently turned away. Her mother sat in the living room, the photos and bills spread on the coffee table. "Mom, I can explain." "Explain what?" Her mother's eyes were red. "Explain why you went behind your husband's back with your ex-boyfriend? Explain why you spent his hard-earned money without restraint. Explain why you mocked your parents." "I didn't mean it." "You didn't mean it?" Her mother stood up, her voice trembling. "Sloane, do you know how much your father and I sacrificed for you? We worked 2 jobs to send you to college. We gave you our savings to help with your wedding. And this is how you repay us." "Mom, I'm most disappointed that you didn't cherish Silas." Her mother's voice began to choke. "That young man, from the day you got married, treated you like a treasure. He built furniture for us, helped us repair the house, never asked us for a penny. And you despised him, betrayed him. Sloane, I don't recognize you anymore." "Mom, please, I just need a place to stay." "No." Her father's voice came from the bedroom. "We're not a hotel. You made your choices. Now face the consequences." The door closed in her face. Sloane stood in the hallway, staring at that familiar door that no longer opened for her. She had nowhere to go. Work was another disaster. On Monday, her supervisor called her into the office. "Sloane, I'll be direct. Your recent performance has been very poor. Clients are complaining you've missed multiple deadlines, and your personal issues have affected the company's image." "I know, I'll improve." "We've decided to let you go," the supervisor interrupted. "Effective immediately. HR will send you the paperwork. You can clear out your desk today." Walking out of the office, Sloane felt like a ghost. Her colleagues looked at her, whispering. They had all seen the photos. The gossip had spread throughout the company. She packed her few belongings into a box and left. As she walked out of the building, her phone buzzed. It was Gemma. "Sloane, I'm sorry, but you need to find another place to stay. My boyfriend is uncomfortable with you here. You understand, right?" Sloane understood. Everyone was distancing themselves from her. She checked into a cheap motel. $70 a night. The room smelled of mildew, but it was all she could afford. That night, lying on the hard bed, she finally allowed herself to cry without restraint. How did everything fall apart so quickly? A week ago, she had a home, a husband, a job, friends, her parents' support. Now she had nothing. Her phone buzzed. Not Silas, not her parents, not her friends. It was the credit card company. "Your account is past due. Please make a payment immediately or contact us to arrange a payment plan." Sloane looked at the balance. $8,000 in debt. From all those bags, clothes, dinners, drinks. She thought Silas would always be there to cover it. She was wrong. The second week, she received the official divorce papers by courier. Everything was as stated in the initial document. No negotiation, no compromise. Just cold facts and legal language. She tried hiring a lawyer to fight it, but after reviewing the documents, the lawyer shook his head. "Ms. Sloane, everything here is legal and well documented. The house was his before marriage, the studio was his before marriage, all the accounts are clearly separated. You have no claim to any of it. And with these photos," the lawyer pointed at the evidence photos, "even if Texas is a no-fault state, this doesn't help your case. If anything, it makes you look bad." "But I have nowhere to go." "That's not a legal issue," the lawyer said. "That's a personal problem. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. And honestly, you'd be wasting money trying to fight this. Your best option is to sign and move on." Sloane left the lawyer's office, her last hope extinguished. The third week, she started apartment hunting. Every place she looked at was beyond her budget. Her savings were dwindling fast, and without a job, no one wanted to rent to her. "Do you have a current employer?" landlords would ask. "Not at the moment. Sorry, we need proof of income." She lowered her standards. Studio apartments in bad neighborhoods. Shared rooms with strangers. But even those were hard to get. One landlord Googled her name and found the photos online. Some helpful person had posted them on social media. "Sorry," the landlord said. "I rent to stable tenants only." The fourth week, with only 3 days left before the eviction deadline, Sloane was desperate. She called Reed. "Reed, I need help. I need a place to stay." "Sloane." His voice was uncomfortable. "I don't think that's a good idea. People are talking and I think we should keep our distance for a while." "But you said." "I said a lot of things," Reed interrupted. "But that was before. This is now. I'm sorry, but I can't get involved in this." He hung up. Sloane stared at the phone, finally understanding. Reed was never a friend. He was just someone who enjoyed the thrill of flirting with a married woman. But when she actually became available, he ran. Her phone vibrated. A notification from the bank. Her credit card was suspended due to non-payment. She had $200 in her checking account. That was it. Her phone rang. Human resources from her company. "Sloane, why didn't you come to work today?" She looked at the time. 3 p.m. She was supposed to be in a meeting at 2. "I'm sorry, I've had some personal issues. We need to talk to you." The HR manager's voice was serious. "You've been late 5 times recently, missed 3 important meetings, and clients have complained about your unprofessional attitude. This can't continue." "I know, I'll improve. We want you to come to the company tomorrow." The HR manager interrupted. 2 p.m. my office. "We need to discuss your work performance." Sloane knew what that meant. She was going to be fired. "Okay," she said. "I'll be there tomorrow." After hanging up, she stood at the street corner, not knowing where to go. She couldn't stay at Eliza's anymore. She'd been there a week. Any longer would be too inconsiderate. Hotels were too expensive. Her credit card was maxed out. Finally, she went to a cheap motel. $70 a night, the room was small, the sheets a bit old, but at least clean. She lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about 3 years ago at this time. Back then she had just married Silas, moved into that warm home. Silas had personally renovated the entire house, every detail considering her preferences. He made her a huge wardrobe, specially designed compartments for bags. He installed a vanity table for her with soft lighting. He even built her a flower stand on the balcony, saying she could plant her favorite flowers. She never planted any flowers. She thought it was too troublesome. Now she thought if time could rewind, she would plant them. She would fill the entire balcony. Let Silas see her effort. Let him know she also cherished this home. But time couldn't rewind. Her phone rang again. This time it was Reed. She stared at that name for a long time before answering. "Hello, Sloane." Reed's voice sounded a bit unnatural. "I saw those photos. I want to say I'm also sorry about this. I didn't know your husband would." "It's okay," Sloane said. Her voice was very calm. So calm even she was surprised. "Those photos are real. We did go out together. Although nothing happened, it looks ambiguous. I understand Silas's reaction." "So you're really getting divorced?" "Yes." Reed paused. "So are you okay now? Need any help?" Sloane closed her eyes. She remembered last Friday night. At the bar, Reed said to her, "Life is short, carpe diem. You deserve a better life. If I were your husband, I'd give you everything you want." Those words sounded so ironic now. "Reed," she said, "I need a place to live now. I was kicked out of my home, only have 30 days to find a place. Can you lend me some money? Just 1 month's rent and deposit. I'll pay you back." Another silence. "Sloane," Reed finally said, his voice clearly hesitant, "I really want to help you, but I'm also tight lately. The market isn't good. My performance is also affected. And honestly, I don't think I should get involved in your situation. You understand, right? Sloane understood. She understood too well. I understand, she said. Thanks for your honesty. Sloane. She hung up. Then she did something she never thought she would do. She deleted Reed's number. Not because of hate, but because she finally saw clearly. Reed was never a white knight. He was just an opportunist who liked finding validation in others' relationship ruins. When Sloane was still a married woman, seducing her was exciting. But when she really had nothing, he ran faster than anyone. Sloane lay on that cheap motel bed, for the first time soberly examining her life. She had lost her husband, lost her home, lost her parents' trust, lost her friends' respect, was about to lose her job, and owed the credit card company a pile of debt. And all of this she caused herself. It wasn't Silas being cruel. It was her being too greedy. It wasn't Silas being cold-blooded. It was her being too selfish. It wasn't that Silas didn't love her. It was that she never truly loved him. She finally cried herself tired, fell asleep before dawn. In her dream, she went back to the wedding 3 years ago. Silas wore a crisp suit, his smile warm and sincere. He held her hand and said, "I'll take care of you for a lifetime." And what she thought at the time was, at least he has a house, at least he can give me a stable life. She never thought about what a lifetime meant. Now she knew. A lifetime needs to be managed with heart. And she, from day one, never put in her heart. Viewers, Sloane is finally starting to reflect. But is it already too late? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Day 27. Sloane had been living in that cheap motel for 3 weeks. Her savings were gone, credit card maxed out, job lost too. Yes, she was fired. The HR manager was tactful, but the meaning was clear. We feel your current state isn't suitable for continuing to work at the company. We'll give you 1 month's severance pay. Hope you can find opportunities more suitable for you. 1 month's salary. $3,500. This was all she had now. She spent half a month looking for a new job. Sent out over 20 resumes, only got 3 interview opportunities, all with no follow-up. She didn't know if it was because her state was too poor, or because those photos and stories had already spread in her industry. Probably both. She looked at over 10 rental properties. Every time she saw the price, her heart sank. City Center Studio, $1,500 a month, plus 1 month deposit. Suburban shared place, $1,000 a month. But the landlord said they didn't like tenants with complicated love lives. The cheapest was an old apartment complex on the city's edge, studio apartment, $700 a month. The landlord was a lady in her 60s who, after looking at her information, shook her head. "Girl, you don't have a job now. I can't rent to you. What if you can't pay rent?" Sloane stood in that dilapidated hallway, looking at the cracks on the walls and peeling paint, feeling for the first time she had hit rock bottom. 3 years ago, she lived in the warm home Silas built for her. Solid wood floors, custom furniture, large windows, warm sunshine. Now, she couldn't even afford such a cramped, dark studio. On the evening of day 28, she received Silas's final delivery. Not a legal document, but a package. She opened it. Inside was a delicate wooden box. She recognized it immediately. These were all the gifts Silas had made for her over 3 years. The birthday jewelry box, carved with delicate rose patterns. The anniversary vanity mirror, inlaid with shells and pearls. The Valentine's Day bookmark, engraved with her name. The Christmas photo frame, still holding their photo together. Each was a work of art. Each poured countless nights of heart and soul. At the bottom of the box was a note. The handwriting was neat, Silas's handwriting. "These things were made for love. Now they're just wood. You can keep them, throw them away, or sell them. Up to you. But please remember, the sentiment they once represented no longer exists. 3 more days left. Please be sure to move out by midnight the day after tomorrow. Overdue will result in legal action. Silas." Sloane held that wooden box, her fingers gently tracing those delicate carvings. She remembered every scene when she received each gift. She remembered the smile on her face at the time and the disdain in her heart. She remembered when she showed these gifts to friends, the polite praise from friends, and her own disappointment. "They're nice, but I wanted that Chanel bag more," she said at the time. Now, if she could choose again, she would choose these wooden boxes, not those bags. Because these are irreplaceable, unique, genuine. And those designer bags, anyone can buy them with money. Sloane took out each gift, one by one, placing them on the bed. She remembered Silas in the studio, concentrating on sanding, carefully carving, adjusting over and over until perfect. His attitude toward these gifts was like his attitude toward their marriage. Attentive, patient, meticulous. And her? She took all of it for granted. She took his giving as weakness. She took his silence as consent. Sloane lay on the bed, holding that wooden box, finally truly crying. Not for the lost material life. Not for her parents' disappointment. Not for friends' alienation. But for losing that person. The person who would make ginger soup when she had a cold. The person who would cook dinner when she worked late. The person who would quietly listen when she complained. The person who would apologize first when she was angry. The person who treated her as the center of his world. And she never treated him the same way. Day 29. Sloane packed up all her belongings. She didn't have much. A few boxes of clothes, some cosmetics, a few bags, a few pairs of shoes. Those designer bags, she had already sold half of them for some cash. The rest she was also preparing to sell. She needed money, needed to survive. She sent her parents a text. "Mom and Dad, I'm sorry. I know I disappointed you. I'll work hard to be a better person. When I have the face to see you, I'll come back." After a long time, her mother replied, "Take care." Only 2 words, but Sloane was grateful beyond words. At least they were still willing to reply. Day 30. The moving company's truck stopped at the door. Workers were moving her boxes. Sloane walked into what was once her home for the last time. She stood in the center of the living room, looking at the furniture Silas built. They were still there, but the owner was no longer there. She walked to the kitchen and put the key on the counter. Then she took out a piece of paper and wrote a few lines. "I'm sorry. I know it's too late to say this now, but I'm truly sorry. You deserve better. I hope you can find someone who truly knows how to cherish you. Thank you for taking care of me these 3 years. Sorry I didn't cherish it well. Sloane." She placed the note next to the key, took one last look at this home. Sunlight streamed through the windows, falling on the wooden floor Silas personally sanded, on the bookshelf he designed, on the door frame he carved. Every corner of this home had his traces, and she was just a passerby here. She closed the door and walked toward the truck. The sky started drizzling, just like that night a few weeks ago, but this time she was the one leaving. Viewers, Sloane's story basically ends here. But what about Silas? How is he doing now? Tell me in the comments what you want to know. 3 months later. In a small studio on the other side of the city, autumn sunlight streamed through large windows. Warm but not scorching. Silas stood at the workbench, designing a crib for a young couple. He wore clean work clothes, holding a pencil, carefully drawing lines on the blueprint. "The railing spacing can't exceed 6 centimeters, he explained while drawing. "This way the baby's head won't get stuck. For the wood, I recommend beech, sturdy and durable with no odor. All edges and corners will be sanded round to ensure absolute safety." The young mother's eyes were full of trust. "Silas, my friends all say your work is the most reliable. For children, we only trust you." Silas smiled. "This is my responsibility. I'm not just making furniture. I'm creating your love for your child." After the clients left, Silas's phone rang. It was his friend Fletcher. "Want to go hiking this weekend? A bunch of us are going." "Sure," Silas said. "I can finish the work on hand by Friday." After hanging up, he glanced at the calendar. Today was November 22nd. 2.5 months since the official divorce decree. It was a simple hearing. The judge reviewed all documents, confirmed the ownership of premarital property, asked if both parties agreed to the agreement. Sloane signed silently, no arguing, no crying. She looked much thinner, her eyes hollow, like someone who'd been hollowed out. After the judge's ruling, Silas stood up and left. He didn't look back at Sloane. Not because of hate, but because he had already let go. That relationship was over. Thoroughly, completely, cleanly. Now he lived in a small apartment, much smaller than the original house, but enough. He had already sold that original house. Not because of lack of money, but because there were too many memories there. Rather than looking at those memories every day, better to start fresh. He used part of the money from selling the house to expand the studio, hired 2 assistants. Orders kept increasing. Even several high-end hotels wanted to collaborate with him. But Silas didn't blindly expand. He still insisted on personally doing every key piece of work, ensuring quality. Making money is a means, not the end, he told his assistants. We're doing work of conscience. In the evening, he sat on the balcony, drinking beer, watching the city lights. His phone had several dating app notifications. Someone had sent him messages. It was an elementary school teacher named Naomi. They met at a friend's gathering. They chatted a few times. Felt good. Want to go to the museum this weekend? Naomi asked. There's a new art exhibition. Silas thought about it and replied, sure. He wasn't rushing to start a new relationship. But he also wasn't refusing new possibilities. He knew not all women were like Sloane. There were still many sincere, kind people in the world who knew how to cherish. He just needed time to meet the right one. His phone rang again, this time a client. Silas, I saw your new work. Fantastic. I want to order a dining set. Can you come take measurements? Of course, Silas said. Is tomorrow morning convenient? Perfect. Life continued. There were new orders, new friends, new possibilities. And that past that once broke his heart had slowly become a lesson, a reminder, telling him what was truly important. Silas walked into the studio, started preparing tomorrow's work. His hand glided over the wood, feeling the direction of the grain. He remembered 3 years ago when he made the first gift for Sloane. He spent an entire week carving that jewelry box. Every curve of every rose petal had been modified countless times. He thought then, if she was happy when she received the gift, all his effort was worth it. Now he understood truly worthwhile effort is for people who know how to appreciate, for those who truly respond, for those who also cherish you. Sloane didn't understand, but someone will. 1 year later in autumn, Silas and Naomi got engaged. The wedding was simple, only inviting the closest friends and family. No luxurious display, no deliberate showing off, only sincere blessings. Naomi stood beside him, wearing a simple white dress, holding a bouquet of daisies. She smiled warmly, genuine love in her eyes. I'll take good care of you, she said. I'll take good care of you too, Silas answered. This time he knew it was true, because Naomi understood him. She knew his work was hard, but she never complained. She knew he wasn't wealthy, but she never looked down on him. She knew he had a failed marriage, but she never minded. Let the past be the past, Naomi said. What matters is our future. After the wedding, a friend asked Silas, do you regret it? If you hadn't been so resolute back then, maybe you and Sloane could still. No, Silas interrupted him. Some mistakes can't be made up for with forgiveness. Some hurts can't be healed with apologies. More importantly, if I had compromised then, I wouldn't have met Naomi. I wouldn't have the life I have now. What about Sloane? The friend asked. Have you heard any news about her? Silas shook his head. I haven't been following. That's her life. I have my own. Actually, he had heard some news. Heard she found a new job writing copy for a small company. The pay wasn't high, but enough to live on. Heard she moved to the edge of the city, sharing a place with others. Life was simple, frugal. Heard her relationship with her parents was slowly mending. She went home once a month, bringing dishes she made herself. Heard she changed a lot. No longer pursuing brands, no longer showing off, no longer vain. She was learning to be an ordinary person, a down-to-earth, sincere person who knew how to cherish. But all of this had nothing to do with Silas anymore. In his life, there was no longer a place for her. And her life needed her to rebuild herself. This was the adult world. Some people once missed are missed. No do-overs, no ifs, only consequences. Silas didn't destroy Sloane. He just stopped supporting her world of vanity. And without support, that world naturally collapsed. This wasn't revenge. This was fairness. This wasn't cruelty. This was dignity. This wasn't the end. This was rebirth. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is the build-up before a thunderous counterattack. When you mistake pride for leverage, treat true heart as an ATM. Don't be surprised when the other person takes everything away with precision and decisiveness. True strength doesn't need proclamation. True dignity doesn't need explanation. True goodbye is never loud arguments, but silently closing the door and taking away your entire world. When you take others' giving for granted, don't blame them for calculating so precisely when they take it all back. Some lessons must be learned through pain. Some people only understand cherishing after losing, but by then it's often too late. This is what this story wants to tell you. Viewers, do you think Silas did the right thing? What would you do? If your partner said to you, maybe we should take some time apart, would you be as calm as Silas? Or would you try to salvage things? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. If you like this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because in this world, the best revenge isn't destroying the other person, but living better than them. The strongest counterattack isn't violence or cursing, but turning around with dignity, being reborn with grace. See you next time.